Kyle had a great soliloquy last week about Uncle Lenny being this guy that...
We call the Lions Uncle Lenny.
Yeah.
Explain your Uncle Lenny before I get in, because...
Uncle Lenny is this old relative you've had for years and years and years, and he's part of the family, but he goes through a lot of hard times. For year after year after year, he's can't get his life together, he can't get his relationships, his finances, his credit, his attire, his hygiene, everything. It's been a mess. But then, like, last year, Lenny showed up, and he was shaved, and he had a suit, and he had a date, and he was like, he looked good. And you're like, Lenny, look at you. And the Detroit Lions, to us, they're Uncle Lenny, and we love them, and we support them.
So this is that Thanksgiving where Lenny shows up and has the suit and has the new date and actually brought something to the dinner table. And that's how we feel right now. We're so proud of the Lions, and we're so proud of Uncle Lenny that not only are they one of the teams that everyone's talking about, the NFL schedule maker said of all the teams that we can play against the Chiefs on our opening night, our showcase game, we are choosing you. Not like every Thanksgiving where we're burdened with you as the early game. We're choosing the Lions to open the season. And I'm in on the Lions. I think the Lions are going to be great this year. I really do. I think the Lions in a wide-open NFC can compete not only for the division, but for the conference. They just need their defense to stop someone. And they did at the end of the season, but it was epic in the beginning of the season. As a whole, this was the Lions' defense last year. We could talk about Amon-Ra, and we could talk about Gibbs, and we could talk about the addition of Montgomery. If you don't stop anybody, you ain't going anywhere. Lions defense did pick it up at the end of the season, and they had to make changes on the personnel of the coaching staff. They let go of Aubrey Pleasant. Things started changing on the back end. But this defense that's run by Aaron Glenn, it is a man-to-man defense in a passing game that I don't know. Is this going to be a defense that's going to stop teams week in and week out? Wow. So much young talent. We love Aiden Hutchinson, who was Defensive Rookie of the Year. That's great. But can you name the Lions corners? Can you name the Lions safeties? I know Kirby Joseph's been a friend of the show. Like, we're expecting a lot out of rookies like Brian Branch and Jack Campbell. This Lions defense will be the team's Achilles heel. If they can stop teams, if they can hold teams under 25, they are going to win a lot of games this season. If they start the year like they did last year, where they were getting blown out because the defense couldn't stop anyone, we might not be talking about Uncle Lenny come Thanksgiving in the same way we're talking about him in August.
I love what you're talking about because they were getting killed early in the season. And to your point, Brian Branch, a newcomer as a rookie, their entire secondary is almost going to be brand new. Cam Sutton they brought over, another guy, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, another guy they added. So, yeah, on paper, it's all right, we added solutions to the problem, but now it's another thing to get out there and everybody work together and execute. And along with the defense, I'm looking at the running back position, and you look at it, they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, 12. They brought in David Montgomery from the Bears, who's at 1,000 yards, 4 seasons. So you look at it and you're just like, all right, they're straight. This two-headed monster should be better than the guys they had last year. And to the point of the guys brought in on the secondary, these are two brand new guys to the offense that Ben Johnson puts out there on the field, and he's been really good at calling plays. These guys have to come in, pick up the playbook, learn the terminology, and go out there and ball early on for this team. Because last year, between Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift, they went for over 1,600 yards on the ground and 20-something odd touchdowns. So that position has been extremely productive for them. And as good as Jared Goff was last year, they were able to run the ball and do it effectively, especially when it came to Jamal Williams setting a touchdown record, beating out Barry Sanders. They scored a lot of points that way. So I look at the defense, but I also look at the running game, making sure they're able to pick up exactly where they left off last year with new additions in the backfield, and those guys hit the ground running and able to produce early on.
I hear that. I've always loved Montgomery's game. Runs really hard. I've been thinking about Uncle Lenny. I've been thinking about him a lot. So Peter's right. Uncle Lenny last year showed up for Thanksgiving, had his act together. But you take it a step further. There is a large black tie gala that's being hosted. And there's 32 people at this dinner party, and they're all around the table. And Lenny shows up, and he's got a reputation now, and we're excited for Lenny to show up.
We want Lenny at the table.
Yeah, we can't. Well, Lenny's here. Like, it's a head turner. You know, he shows up in this really nice car. Like, Lenny used to ride his bike to these dinners, and we'd be like, Lenny, why are you riding your bike? He said, I like the outdoors. Well, he had his license taken away. Now he's showing up in like a really nice car, and he walks in, and the person running the party goes up to Lenny and says, excuse me, Lenny, just taps him on the elbow. We'd like you to say a few words to start the evening. You know, the Chiefs are sitting at the head of the table. They're going to welcome everyone. And then if you could just make a little toast. So Lenny's like, you want me to make the toast? You don't want like the Steelers guy or the Cowboys guy?
That's Uncle 49ers. I think he should talk.
They usually talk. No, Lenny, we want you to talk. All right, are you sure? I don't have anything to say. Please just say something. I just look at the opener, and it is so, so important, that speech, because it's the biggest Lions moment, like, since I was, like, in junior high, I think. I don't need the best speech of all time from Lenny. I don't need Winston Churchill. Please don't embarrass yourself in that speech. You know what I'm saying? Like, please give us something good and classy and dignified and just thank everybody and show up. I don't even need you to win the room. The Chiefs speech might be better than you that night. I don't care. Just please, if Lenny gets up and he's like, you know, so a rabbi and a priest walk into a bar. No. Please don't do that. That's 21-0 Chiefs to
The
start the game.
aristocrats.
Oh, no. Just, Lenny, hold up the glass like we've talked about before. And please, I look at the Lions. I don't really care if they lose. It would be so crushing to all of us who love football and are rooting for the Lions if they lose that game 38-10. Like, that is your national coming out party. How do you sustain the hype? You have to show up at Arrowhead. You have to give them a game. Win the game, incredible, sure. But you can't embarrass yourself with that speech, Lenny. We're rooting for you. Work on it, please. Just string a few phrases together and sit down. I think we'll be all right.
It can't stop there. Even if they play them tough, even if they win that game, that's just the beginning of 4 primetime games the Lions have. Like, this could become this thing where, like, can we do the reverse flex? Like, when does that come into play? Because if a team has this much oomph going into the season, then you're looking at 4 primetime games, like, oh man, that Sunday night, like, what do you think Chris Collinsworth thinks about that Lions, whatever
Jamie,
game?
that was Denver last year.
Right.
We had 5 Denver primetime games in the first month, and we're
Yep.
like, please, Amazon, do something.
Yep.
Don't show this game.
And again, we were talking about the Eagles to start the hour, and it's like the Eagles got the reverse treatment, which is last year Aaron Schatz had them in a Super Bowl. No one else did. And so which do you want? Do you want to be the team of marquee letters in August that the letters start to blink and fade away as the season begins? Or are you getting plugged in September and it flickers a little bit, but you stay bright come November, December, January? Those 4 primetime games stress me out for the Detroit Lions. They do.
They're big.
And I'm thinking about Lenny because it's
Go on.
it's one thing when no
We all
one,
love Lenny.
well, no one has any expectations for you. Like, you can just show up. And now to your point where Lenny walks in, if you're asking him to give a toast at this thing, for this Lions team, you're not just walking in. Like, people have expectations. There's hype. All of this is real. And when you're Lenny and you're young in this new journey in your life, you don't know how you're going to respond to the pressure. Sometimes how you handle adversity is a little easier than how you handle success.
Yeah.
So for Lenny and these Lions,
Something to it. Last year, week 18,
Jay.
they put the Packers and Lions. Packers win, they're in, and then the Lions got that win, and it's like, all right, that was their primetime moment. This is different. The league is putting you in this place.
I know.
I'll never forget. This is a random memory. 2011, the NFL signed a deal with Nike. It's right after the lockout, and they brought in to New York City one player from every team. This is similar to what you're saying about to show the jerseys off. And I got invited to go. I was writing for Esquire magazine at the time. Got to go and interview all these players, and it's Urlacher, and it was Cam Newton. It was massive players. And the player that they had speak, because it was in New York, was Victor Cruz. And I'm like, that's a big spot in front of that room. That's how this feels. The Lion, the 31 other teams are going to be watching and being like, you chose these guys to play the Chiefs on opening. The Eagles weren't chosen. The Dolphins weren't. Dolphins were sent to London. Dolphins are like, you're telling me that? Like, that's who you're picking over us? So
I hope it works. It's like, remember when Roman Roy got to do the speech at Logan's funeral? He just folded.
It's just such a great point. And we'll talk about it throughout the week leading up to it. But, like, this is the biggest Lions moment since they went to the playoffs.
I know.
And that
like
was
30
what,
years.
30 years.
I just watched the Succession episode last night where Roman, and no one wants to talk to the president when the president calls, and Logan is like out of commission, and Roman's like, I'll do it, and it's just like, it's a total debacle. It's like, who wants to talk to the president right now? Who wants to play the Chiefs to start the season? I'm stressful for Uncle Lenny. Uncle Lenny shows up. It's a shiny penny at Thanksgiving. But what about 4th of July, 7 months later? Like, are you sustaining
Back-to-back
that
World War
lifestyle?
champs.
Right, exactly.
I don't know if Lenny's going to have that shirt on again. I hope not. Lenny, we love you.
Right?
We really do.
Lions, we love you.